Thanks. Emma's checking for a quorum.
Okay.
Matthew is the only person we kind of added in the, break as an interim, is the only person that's new that wasn't already there.
Okay. Is Matthew on the call?
Yep, Matthew's on.
Oh. Sorry.
Tripty knows me by my former name.
Yeah, he goes by Bobby, and I
My
always.
legal name is Matthew.
Okay, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something here.
And actually, what I prefer to call him is Matthew Bobby, like Talladega, Ricky Bobby. I like Matthew Bobby, but that's just a ha-ha joke. For Bobby.
Okay, so we have 5. What's our total board count right now?
And that's what I was asking you to verify.
I just try to remember that. Okay.
So I'm just going down. So we have Emma, Mike, me, Dawn, Lenny, Katie, Bill. Who am I missing?
I think that's right. So 7, so we're good.
Sounds low, doesn't it? Like Katie.
Okay. Oh, I thought we had Kate.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I feel like I'm missing someone.
We have Dawn. We're good. We have quorum now.
Is Dawn on there? All right, Dawn.
So we're definitely good now.
All right, Dawn, is Lenny with you as well? Dawn? A lot of times they're a husband and wife, and they will, share one computer and get
Not today, Troopty.
Okay, so Dawn, not Lenny.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Sorry. I was still actually working, so I do apologize.
All right, so we've got 6. We do have a quorum.
We're good,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We've got a couple of new people. Let me look at my agenda first. We need to approve the minutes that Dawn just sent out.
Emma.
I'm sorry, Emma just sent out. And I don't know if the rest of the members, Matthew, I don't think you were on, so you wouldn't be able to verify. But if the rest of the folks have read it, we can move to approve.
I move to approve the minutes from September 27th.
Last time we met.
I'll second.
All right. Anyone not in favor of approving the minutes? All right. They're approved. Hold on. I'm sorry, I was a little late getting on. Well, I was a little behind getting on myself. So I'm like, I don't have my board agenda. There we go. I just want to make sure I can share it. All right. Also want to approve the agenda in case there are any changes that we would like to see here before we move forward. Anybody want to add anything onto this that's not there? All right, well, I'm gonna move to approve the agenda. So 1 second.
Second.
Thanks. Anyone, have any issues? Hearing none, we'll approve the agenda. And we may have extra time and we can cover other stuff. It's been a while since we've met, September was the last time. October, we didn't do a general membership, but we defaulted to Regis's election. And then we took November and December off, which we have done for as far as I've been on this board. Just because it's always difficult and then always falls around the holidays. So we tend to take that off. So it's been a little while since we've spoken, although there's lots going on. And as most of you guys know that, I stay in touch with everyone. There's always something going on. There's a lot of work going on there. We do have a few new volunteers. One individual is going to join at 7 and another one could not join, but we do have Joseph Gonzalez, who reached out to me. There he is, waving. He's brand new into the neighborhood. He purchased a fourplex not that long ago, well, actually a few months ago. And he reached out to me wanting to get involved. I met him a couple of times. So we'll get to that as well. And then we have Matthew Bobby. He's also new, and we adopted him via email onto the board. So he's technically on the board member. I will move later to adopt him as new land use chair. The next thing I have on there is, do we have any announcements? Does anybody have anything that they'd like to share? Things that are going on? It could be anything, stuff in the neighborhood, things that they learned. Does anybody have any announcements? All right, I have a few. I always try to share as much as I can. So I've learned that Mojave and Tejon, which is currently on 38th, a couple of doors down from south of Gaetano, is moving into Cobbler's Corner in the old Intrigue Boutique spot, which I didn't even know Intrigue Boutique left. But
Yeah, she just recently sold.
yeah, well, did they sell? I mean, they just ended their lease, I'm assuming, because
Yeah, she ended her lease. Sorry, she did end her lease, and she opened interior design.
oh, interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I haven't been in there in a while. I happen to loved it and had great price point for stuff. So I'm sad to see them leave, but glad that there's already someone else coming in. I actually learned of it from one of the volunteers or potential new board member who's going to join at 7, that they were moving, and subsequently I reached out to them as well. They also did the dog adoption during Halloween. So I had met her already because of that. But her name is Lexi, and she's the owner. So I'm looking forward to that. I think they're hoping by the end of this month, mid-February. So when that happens, we'll, reach out and, maybe bring her here, introduce her. But very nice couple.
Is Mojave strictly jewelry, or is it gifts too?
It's kind of everything. It's jewelry,
Good.
it's gifts.
That's
it's
good.
candles.
People will miss the variety that Intrigue had.
Yeah, it's no clothes though. I mean, there's handbags, but no
Mhm.
clothes. I think her thing is that, she literally can tell you kind of the artist behind all the stuff that she has there, and she sticks to local and regional. The stuff is not cheap, but it's really well curated. And I'm not one of those people that likes, these little shops, but she had really good stuff. So I'm excited that we've got a new business, and also they're just nice people. So it's great that we already kind of have a relationship with them. The second thing I have is I'm going to have access to free seeds from a Burpee rep. This is what I learned, and someone I met last year as well through inter-neighborhood cooperation. So if anyone knows of schools or nonprofits that can use, I've already connected to Montessori and Strive Prep, because and Quig. Last year I gave to Strive, to Montessori and Quig, not to Strive Prep, but recently I saw that they had a few garden boxes, and I knew they were looking to put in garden boxes. So ideally it's someone who could use free seeds, not someone who can afford them, right? So, a nonprofit.
I know that. Have you heard of Maranatha? It's on 36th and 36th and Vallejo. Anyhow, it's in Denver. It's an online school, and they have a garden in the back.
Okay, so if you can email me, especially if have a connection there, a person, if you can send that information, and what I'll do is, figure out how much seeds. And last year, I think it was later toward the end of, not this early in the season, which is the perfect time to start everything from seed. I just said I have like 2 or 3 different groups, and he just did a mixed little batch, like each one probably got 20, 30 packets. So it's not hundreds of packets each, but the folks were happy. So yeah, if anybody knows of other groups, I reached out to Lisa Bardwell of Honey, because she's kind of in that space a bit, to see if there were schools over in maybe Bryant Webster. But anyway, other organizations that could use free seeds. If anybody knows, please email me, and then I'll just try to get as much as I can and pick it up and distribute. So that's that was the other thing. Free stuff is always good, and finding good people to give it to is also good. Then, and lastly, I did want to tell this group that I was planning on stepping down as chair at the end of this term, which is at the end of April. That'll mark 3 years as chair, and I think, I think that's long enough. And I also think it's time for someone new to step up and to lead, and new ideas, new blood, fresh face. I'm still going to be around. I'm not planning on not being on the board. I'm going to continue to support the stuff that we do. I'll be around to train or onboard folks. I'll continue to recruit for any gaps that we have. But I do want you guys to be thinking about, whether you'd be interested, any of you guys would be interested in taking the chair role.
Are you talking about the president role or your chair
Yeah.
role on with PCD?
No, I'm not chair on PCD. Matthew's chair. I'm going to move to adopt him as chair. No, as president. I'm just calling that the board chair, but as president / board chair. So, 3 years is good. And it'd be great for someone new to be doing some of this. I think, we need more people involved, and I'm happy to step aside and let someone else lead, and we'll be fully supportive and help. So, and then elections are coming up in April, and we'll be talking about dates. But, think about what you guys want to do or change. This is the time, usually in May, the first meeting after the elections, we, pick new chairs. If people want to switch responsibilities, roles, do something different, that's a time where we kind of think about that. So, I'd encourage everybody to kind of think about that now, so that we have ideas of who wants to do what. Oh, thank you, Bobby. He put in Mojave and Tejon in the chat, their link. I will say that my dog won a $25 gift certificate with the Halloween costume contest to Mojave and Tejon. I'm pretty sure I walked away with $200 worth of stuff, which I love. Some pottery and stuff is really cute stuff. So that's it for my announcements. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we move on? All right. Seeing none, let's have our new volunteers. And again, Lindsay Krenzer is going to join at 7. That's why I made this till 7:05. If we have to move on and jump back, we may have to do that. But so let's start with Matthew, who we put onto the board. We adopted him onto the board via email, but he's also going to be leading our land use chair. He's been I met him in August at one of our town halls for the overlay. And, he's been involved in land use kind of since then, and really just much more involved since Bill and James stepped down. So, sorry, Bobby, tell us a little bit about yourself and, why, you're interested in doing what you're doing.
So Bobby Von Drossik, also known as Matt. I'm from Omaha. I moved to Boulder 3-4 years ago now to law school with the intention of ending up in the Denver metro area. So I finished my JD last year. I'm doing an LLM degree this year. All that really revolves around, I do environmental and mostly energy related types of legal work. I've mostly worked for government agencies, but always been a very involved person. At Boulder, I was on the graduate and professional student government, where we had like a $200,000 budget, and I was president for 2 years and managed 13 staff members. But it was really helpful for learning the Robert's rules, how to conduct a meeting, how to conduct constitutions, bylaws, things like that. And I'm a very design planning kind of oriented person. So hoping to bring those things to land use and kind of, the way I described it to Tripti was, we want to make sure our, like a used car, somebody had it before us and somebody will have it after us. And we want to make sure the car can go to the destinations we want it to. So if we need to change its oil or update some things, that's kind of what we want to do with that committee, so we can go the long haul. So that's me.
Well, thank you, Bobby. Does anybody have any questions for him specifically? I mean, I know him from working with him. He's terrific. And he's, on point for a lot of what I think what we need. So anybody have any questions?
Hey, Bobby, this is Mike. Yeah, just how long have you been in Sunnyside?
Since last July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just, I don't know, general kind of, I don't know, opinions about kind of what you've seen then, I guess, in the last 6 months or so, right?
So, I mean, I've had my eye on this neighborhood for probably most of law school because it's nice and close to downtown, but it's not right in the thick of everything, which makes it great. And there's a lot going on with development, obviously lots changing in the city of Denver. And so there's a real opportunity to, build the community into what we want it to be, and bring more people in. But there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And we, want to be very deliberative with how we do that so we can get, the desired outcomes that we want. But it's a beautiful neighborhood. Me and the dog, if you can see her wandering around in the background, love it. Yeah, loved it so far.
No, I just wondered what your thoughts were. So you're familiar with the area, so you wanted to move here. That's great. And I mean, if you were to think about the land use and kind of what happens, I mean, I've been here since 2016, I guess. So yeah, I don't know, going on 6 years. Seems like just yesterday. But I mean, there's lots of changes, and it seems to be accelerating in a lot of ways as the property prices increase in value. We're seeing those things happen. So, I mean, from a land use, and obviously we're a body that just has input to planning for Denver. But do you feel that, if you were to say just what you've seen over the last 6 months and then what you kind of knew from before, I mean, are there any specific areas that you think are of a concern that need to be dealt with right away?
I think probably the biggest thing, and Tripti and I have kind of discussed this, is, when people are coming in, we're not necessarily and are going to start making demands of people, but if there's something that we want as a neighborhood, but we just don't ask for it, nobody's going to do it. When people are building new projects or developments or things like that. So if we can ask for it and we can kind of set expectations up front of, here's what we're looking for people, and make the process easy and consistent for them, and just be very clear with our communication, I think that's really helpful. So we've been working on a design guide to kind of give some very basic things of like what we would be looking for in the neighborhood, kind of similar to the conservation overlay that talks about the transit area. But just being able to do that so people kind of have a baseline going into land use meetings, as opposed to us kind of just asking randomly if we remember something or if we think about it, is what I'm hoping to do kind of off out of the gate.
No, that's good. I mean, I think it's great, and I really appreciate you stepping up and volunteering for this role. It's a huge role for the organization, and I think you'll do a great job. I guess just, one of the things that I've kind of noticed, and I've only been involved with the board for a little less than a year, actually, and just wondering, I think that the engagement from the community is not that great when it comes to really important things, especially, and I think land use is a very, very good example of something that's very important. So just look forward to working with you and the rest of the team to try to figure out how we can get more engagement and get people more involved in what's going to happen in their neighborhood. Because I think that's a key area that we haven't been able to crack the code, I guess. So, but I appreciate you stepping up. So thank you very much and welcome.
I want to say a couple things, and because a lot of folks who are on this call, besides like Mike, I think you've been on a couple of our land use. A lot of other folks have not been like on land use, kind of always following it. That engagement piece. One of the challenges I think we've had is that we don't share enough. Right? There isn't enough documentation. We're not getting information out sooner in as many platforms as possible. So one of the things that we've already started doing is two things, actually. One is that when a developer wants to get on the agenda, we're going to have them fill out a bit of a form, and it's very generic. And it's something that's not hard for them because they're used to this kind of thing because they would need to do it for the city. Ours is not quite that much. But one of the things we're asking is, who are you? Who's your team? What are you trying to do? What's your current zoning? What's the zoning you're asking for? What are the renderings? When is your date? What part of the process are you in? And again, if you're not involved in land use, some of these things, you're not familiar with them. But typically, a developer can do a couple of things. One is they could start the process and then come to us, or like put an application in for a rezone and come to us, and we see both of these, or they come to us before that because they want to know whether the community is going to support it. So they don't even want to go as far as putting the application in with the city, but will ask for our support first. But we just haven't asked, and then we don't share, right? So we didn't share on our agenda that here's so-and-so, here's where they are, this is what they're trying to do, and here is a folder with all of the documents, including their visuals, right? What are they trying to do? What is it going to look like? We haven't done that, but we're doing that now. So I think between the form and asking for renderings ahead of time, and then obviously getting the agenda out everywhere that we can, is going to be helpful towards that engagement piece. And I think, and again, like today, I got an email from an individual who was asking about are we thinking about parking over in that general area? They were talking about a specific rezone. This individual has come to us about 3 times, and they were saying, are you guys thinking about the fact that since Zia has come on board, a few blocks all around Zia has almost no street parking left. And part of that has to do with the fact that Zia kind of decoupled their parking at some point when they decided to rent all their units instead of selling, and then parking was a paid aspect. Given that there was parking available on the street, many people just don't buy it. And actually, a lot of people were in fire lanes, in curb cutouts, in front of fire hydrants, on top of the fact that there was no parking left. I've talked to Walshanky, who has had issues with people parking in their driveway, off hours. But we thinking about like what Bobby was talking about, some of these guidelines, we need to be thinking about these things, and we need to be ahead, not behind. But yes, this individual said, hey, are you guys thinking about it? And while we've know that this is going to be an upcoming issue, we haven't done anything. But he also, said, I love I love that you guys are posting videos on your YouTube channel. I'm new to the area. I appreciate being able to catch up. So, Mike, to your point on engagement, I think the better we do with the sharing of the information and making it way more accessible, the more engagement we may have. And at least that's my hope. And some of the things that we're putting into play is to address exactly that, which is engagement. So I want to share that there's these things that we're doing, in case you didn't know.
No. I mean, I think that's great. And I just, I think that there's an opportunity for all of us to try to get more engagement with just the neighbors and try to figure out, how, what do they, why did they move here? What do they want? In your meeting minutes, you have, or sorry, SUNY goals at the top here, right? So I
Right.
think that, these are just things that we just want to keep front of mind as we continue through the process. And, just because, Matthew, David, Paul, Joe, whoever, I'm sorry, just kidding.
I think it's Tom, Dick,
Just-
and Harry.
Yeah.
Or is that too old school?
I agree with you. I think it's also important that we understand that there are people who have lived in the neighborhood for a long time and are seeing so many changes. So in figuring out ways to engage with them, and also just let them know that they have a voice as well, because I think especially when you were at events such as jazz in the park, and we get to meet with our neighbors, we meet people who have been in the neighborhood for over 40 years. We play that game Troop D where people stand up and they tell us how long that they've been in the neighborhood, and so there's a lot of veterans of the neighborhood and a lot of people who just are very indigenous to this neighborhood. So I think those are important aspects to also give recognition to, and make sure that we are also a platform for that.
I think that's a great point, because I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've been here 6 years, but I don't know that I mean, I'm not one of the longtime residents, and I don't know about the rest of the board, but I feel that also we're a little underrepresented, sorry, on the board with some of those longtime, residents, and, maybe, that's part of the reason they feel underrepresented, because they are. And I don't know, if we can, take a look at people who have been in the neighborhood for, 20 years or more, and say, hey, how do we get some of these people more engaged in what's going on? Because, I mean, we can have some impact on the way the neighborhood grows and changes. I mean, I think progress happens, and, the gentrification that we're seeing is happening. We can't really stop it necessarily. But I think, having that diversity and having that engagement across, people who have been here a long time and people of different cultural backgrounds is important for us to really understand, where we came from and what the neighborhood's about.
And I think this board in general, I think we need to be better about, making sure that it's representative. Like right now, I don't think, it would be great to have a longtime resident or a few longtime residents, depending on the size of the board. But right now, I mean, I think I'm trying to think who's been here the longest. Dawn, it might be you that I can think of. Bill doesn't live in the neighborhood. He lives in West Highland, and he's actually relatively new to the area too. He bought a business in Sunnyside a few years back. That's how he made his way here.
I kind of made my way back because I grew up in the neighborhood and I went to Holy Family in the Highlands area. And so North Denver looked a lot different when I was growing up. My dad actually grew up in the Quig Newton housing and went and graduated from North High School.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I mean, again, it's changed a lot over the years. And then my dad honestly tried to move. They tried to move out of the north side because North Denver back then wasn't as affluent, or there was a lot of gang violence and stuff. So all of my aunts and uncles then moved south. And so we're in the suburb areas where, was newly being developed. And so, and now people are coming back to the neighborhood, are never really let go of their properties. And so that's kind of how I ended up here with Lenny.
Wow, that's great. And we got to remember that our council person, Amanda Sandoval, has deep, deep roots in this area with, her family. They've always been in the North Denver area. So I think, even if our R&O, it's somehow, right, at least currently, fails in that area, we do have an elected official with deep roots. And I think this is always on the forefront of her thinking, when she's either getting groups together and such. So I think at least we're lucky that our elected representative is someone with that. I mean, I think it's important, but I think it's also important that there are lots of new people. And
Yeah.
I'm going to, use that as a segue to introduce Joseph Gonzalez. He just moved here recently, and I love that he reached out and said he wanted to get involved. So Joseph, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to join the board.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Joseph Gonzalez. I came from Florida, but I am from Louisiana. You'll hear my Southern accent. And I came from Florida. My daughter got accepted here, University of Colorado, Denver campus. We came in August of 2021. I was here for 3 weeks, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to move here. There's no reason for me to stay in Florida. So I just put an offer on a fourplex here in 45 and Federal, and it's the U-shaped one. Everybody knows the U-shaped one if you tell them it's a U-shape. So I bought that, and I was like, when I was in Florida, I was part of the community. I was on like a whole bunch of boards. We have numerous things there, and I'm sure Colorado has it, but I haven't. The CERT team, it's called a community emergency response team. It's where you go out when there's big hurricanes and you help people out. I was also on the police force team, where you're not a police officer, but you go through the training. You get a little suit like a security guard, you have a badge, you just don't carry a gun. You do ride around and you drive a cop car, but you just patrol around the city and you report anything that you see to the police. So that was pretty interesting. I don't know if other communities have that, but it helps out the police to just, ride around neighborhoods at nighttime and see if you see any burglars or car stolen or something. And HOA board, I'm on that too. I have a few investment properties over there, so I'm on those boards. And I was looking around this neighborhood to see how I can be part of it. I try to volunteer as much as I can when I can. Volunteered a lot, and I like to be part of the big events of the neighborhood. So that's why I reached out. And I seen your website needed to be updated, so I was gonna
Thank
see.
you. We'll talk about that during priority. It's up there.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. The first email I sent on the website is, this thing still active?
Yes.
So, but yeah, I'm excited to be part of the community and get to know people.
I'm also going to throw in there, because I know this, he's also ex-military, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
also, you have that. And, yeah, I'm going to open that up to everybody else. Please, ask your questions. I've got an opportunity to talk to him a couple times.
Yep.
So
Was Don one of the people we seen at the pizza place or super?
Oh, at the supper club?
no, it was,
So,
no, it was not Dawn. Who did we see?
I don't know. We've seen two people.
Michelle? I didn't go
forget.
to their grand opening.
No, this is
2 weeks ago.
Oh, no, it was Mike DeBell and it was Carrie Goddard. Carrie's
Oh, Carrie.
on the board.
Uh-huh.
Carrie actually was a next door neighbor of Mike and recruited him for us. And
Mhm.
I'm thankful that Carrie brought in a great candidate, and that's Mike DeBell. So yeah, it was Mike and Carrie that we ran into at.
Oh, okay. All right, got it. Don looked familiar, so I was like, man.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, maybe if you've been at some of the other events. Was that the Halloween event?
probably no,
No,
not
it
yet.
hasn't
not
been
yet.
around that long.
So we closed on I put an offer in August, like the first or second week of August. We closed on it October 4th, and I moved here November 1st of last year.
Oh, okay.
We
So
haven't.
I've only
So
been here.
fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
I
are
love
some
it.
of the things you like about Sunnyside?
I like I said, like Bobby said, I like the location. I mean, it's 3.2 miles away from my daughter's college, so she can come over. I can go there. It's also, every time I tell someone where I live, they say, wow, that was a shitty place, but it's upcoming and I love it. That is good things to me, because I invest in my property. The fourplex is just going to continue to grow. And I
The
see their
U-shaped property on Federal and 45th. I'm trying to.
yeah.
trying to imagine well, Lenny's dad lives, father-in-law lives on 40, he lives on 46th and Federal, just a couple
Mhm.
houses down. So they
Yeah.
own Chubby's restaurant on 38th.
Who, Lenny's family?
Uh-huh.
Chubby's.
I did not know that.
Chubby's.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
I
his
do.
dad is married.
Chubby's is a landmark.
Yeah, exactly.
His dad is married
Chubby's.
to
I'm gonna have to go
Dorothy,
eat there.
and
So
his
who's-
and
I
actually
know
who's-
her
who's
son lives
fundraising
on
at
that spot.
Chubby's.
Who's the restaurant named after then? We want to know who's chubby in the family.
You know, it actually was a hamburger restaurant. Like they just used to serve burgers, and then they had the chili. They would do like a chili burger. Because also, I don't know if you know, in Southern Colorado, like sloppers are like a thing, like chili burgers, out in Pueblo, Colorado. But yeah, they just started it was a burger joint, and then they just it was named Chubby's, and then they even had a drive-through, I think, at one time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't around then.
Joseph's like, I
You
gotta
just
go.
heard the stories.
I
Yeah.
eat out. Look, I eat out every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
Oh boy.
I don't cook. I don't worry about cooking. So I eat out every day.
Oh, very
Oh.
nice. There's so many spots. You got to try. There's,
Oh, I
mean,
know.
if you ever need somewhere to go, believe me, I can give you a special for every day of the week.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
love-
true. That is true.
Yeah, I don't know who said this is a crappy place because we've lost board members. Carrie and Philip are two of them who wanted to buy bigger places and they couldn't afford this shitty place.
Yes.
So they had to move someplace else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I know.
Yeah. But it's
And-
coming up, and I see they're building a lot of apartments down the road.
Yeah.
You know, so it's coming up.
Do you rent then, Joseph?
I rent them out, and I live
Yeah,
in
you
one.
rent them out,
Yeah.
and you own you live in one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it because I don't know anything about Colorado. It was, you
Uh-huh.
know, it was my daughter's first time ever coming here. And
Yeah.
I just moved here because she's my oldest. I got 4 kids, and she's about to be 20. So I was like, I'll just buy this place, live in it until I figure out the area, and then buy another house.
Sure.
So I will add that Joseph is a loan officer. He's in the
Oh,
real
yeah.
estate game.
Okay.
And we do have, Mike DeBell is a real estate agent as well. And so was Carrie.
And I'm a commercial broker.
That's right.
Wait,
Mhm.
commercial broker for
Nice.
real estate or loans?
Real estate.
Okay, okay.
I manage downtown high rise.
So,
Okay.
so I will say, I asked Joseph, like, you're here to network and to meet
Yeah.
people. So absolutely. But, of course I said, I don't care as long as you want to do other stuff too.
Yeah, of course. I thought that.
Which is to work on the board. And Joseph has
Yeah.
said he will do anything that the board needs. So I think, we'll
That's awesome.
think about the priorities and think about what
Yeah.
makes sense, and especially handoffs that I'm going to need to make as well. So he is, he's open to fulfilling any role that we need him to, especially where the gaps are. So I'm especially thankful for someone willing to, put themselves out there to just help. So, but if you need a loan, we'll talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talk to Don anyway
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
for
We'll
a
talk to Dawn
commercial
now.
commercial broker
commercial.
for commercial loans. See if she's got any people that do those.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else with questions? And I don't see Lindsay on here yet. And we could move on, but it might be helpful if the rest of the board does a quick intro, especially for Bobby and Joseph. Just a quick high level. Tripty, I've lived in Sunnyside since 2015. I don't work, which is why I had a lot of time, and which is why I dove in deep into Sunny. But those are some of the changes I think for next year. My husband and I live here. We love it. I mean, this is like, I'd have a hard time leaving, but we love Sunnyside. And I've been doing this for 3 years. My background was in healthcare and data science before that. Dawn, you can go next.
My name is Dawn, was Medina, now Dominguez. And I've officially lived in Sunnyside for about 7 years now with my husband. I was living in South Denver and then now moved back to North Denver, and I work downtown as a commercial property manager for Rising Realty. And I've also been in that industry for like over 20 years. Let's see, I'm rooted in Denver. Like I went to University of Denver. I went to Holy Family and lots of schools, public schools around Denver. So very native, down to the bone. And yeah, I'm just happy to be on the board. I really I enjoy helping with the events. I've also tried to help Troop D here and there as a vice president, although my job honestly is taking on more challenging times right now. So really just want some assistance on events right now.
And actually, Catherine Mahoney, who's not going to be here today, who is had a prior engagement for this date, a concert, I think, tickets. But she approached me. I know her just from local brewery circle, and she approached me and said, "Hey, why aren't you guys doing happy hours and such?" And I'm like, "Well, we could just use help." And she's like, "Sign me up, whatever you need." I'm like, "Okay, absolutely." There's not too many people I say no to if they're like, "I want to help." Of course, we'll take you on. She can't be here, but we are trying to get Dawn some help. Dawn is a chair. She could be co-chair with events, but events is events is one of the things that a few times a year gets really intense because we're doing something and then it kind of backs off. But it is one of the areas that I think does require, I would say, second only to land use. Requires more
Networking.
folks, more folks to help, more volunteers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm just seeing next. Katie, go up next. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, Joseph and Bobby. We met the other day at Radiator. I have lived in Sunnyside for about 1.5 years now. Moved from Rhino over. Let's see here. I work as a data scientist. That keeps me pretty busy most of the time. And here for Sunny, I put together our newsletter.
And hopefully some Facebook posting.
We'll see. That's
Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Emma.
My name's Emma Donahue. I've been in Sunnyside for about 6 years now. I always forget when I actually moved up here. I moved up here to be with my then boyfriend, now husband. And we love this neighborhood. I am a political consultant and currently work mostly on ranked choice voting here in Colorado. But I do some other political work as well. And yeah, I'm here with my husband, David, who runs the Denver North Star, the local community newspaper that you should all get on your front porches. And if you don't, let me know, because sometimes we have issues with our delivery service. So
Also advertising. Any of the folks out there doing
Yes.
their businesses, advertising in there goes to 30,000 doors. Is that right?
It is delivered to 33,000 doors across North Denver, and then is in businesses across Denver as well. And he just started a second one in Globeville, Elaria, Swansea. So he now has a paper that is bilingual in the GES neighborhood as well. So
Awesome.
we're very busy. So
What's the name of it again?
So the one over here is the Denver North Star. Probably should have gotten it on your portion the last couple days. Yeah, there, that one. There you go.
I read it.
Great. And then, yeah, the GES Gazette is his other one. So there we go.
That's exciting. Thank you. And Mike, you're the last one here.
Save the best for last, huh? Oh, just
Exactly.
kidding. Just teasing. No, Mike DeBell, been here since 2016 in Sunnyside. But for those of you who are local, I guess that's um, Dawn. I was born at St. Anthony's when St. Anthony's was
Wow.
across from Sloan's Lake. So I am quote unquote a Denver native. However, I lived in Wheat Ridge, then Arvada, then moved to Southern California, then to the Bay Area, then to Singapore, then to Holland, and then ended up back here in Denver metro area. So I'm like a salmon. I go back to where I was born, or something like that. So I have been involved in corporate world many years, doing anything from mortgage loans. Joe, that was a long time ago. I'm not going to compete with you.
Okay.
And then did some commercial real estate. Don, that was a long time ago. Not going to compete with you. And
You know, that
I
sounds like
worked in
back when they didn't
semiconductor.
need no license.
Really?
What?
Back when you didn't need a license.
Oh, no. I had to have I had a real estate license.
Oh, you
There
did.
was you had a real estate license, you could do loans or
Oh.
real estate. But they didn't differentiate between a license for a loan, a license for commercial, and a license for residential. It was just all one license. So yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
As you can tell, my gray hair. But yeah, so I've been around the world, done a lot of stuff, working in semiconductors. I was the chief sales officer for Crocs shoes for a while. I was also the vice president of international sales for a company called Pop Sockets, and I saw Joe playing with his pop socket earlier on the video.
The habit.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I got into real estate a year ago, so I'm fairly new. So yeah, happy to go out and buy anybody a glass of wine or a beer or adult beverage at any time. Just shoot me an email or get a hold of me, and just go chit chat, see what's going on. And I got involved with the board because I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to get closer to home. Obviously, in my international business world, I was on the road probably at least 50% of the time. And when I'm talking on the road, I'm talking Europe, South America, Asia. So I was moving around. So I wanted to kind of see what I could do closer to home, and that's why I got involved with the board. So happy to be here and happy to meet all you people.
Well, thank you, Mike. I will add, and Dawn, I'm not Dawn, Emma's our secretary, and Dawn and Mike works with our good neighbor agreements with excise and license, just for the new folks, in case you're wondering kind of what role they play here on the board, other than just being cool and great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I mean, after like almost a 4-month break, this is nice to just, kind of catch up. All right, I'm gonna share our calendar so that we can think about what we're gonna get going on here for this year. Can you all see it? Okay, great. I mean, I don't know how long I have to do Zoom before feeling like I know Zoom, but all right. So in terms, especially for the new folks as well, in terms of what we do, we have 2 standing meetings a month. One board meeting, and the other one is our land use meeting. Land use is not in here, but you know what? I'm going to go back and add that so we have an idea of the entire list. But as far as board meetings, what we have done in the past, and I think we should probably talk about what makes sense going forward, maybe some lessons learned. We do it the 4th Monday of the month, always. That's our board meeting. And then quarterly, we'd like to be doing a general membership meeting. So while all meetings are open, I find a meeting like this, especially the board, not the land use, but the board meeting, that it doesn't actually provide a heck of a lot of value to the community. It's all open and transparent. There isn't, we're not trying to do something that is not, but it's not designed for the community. So we're thinking about, having a quarterly meeting for the neighborhood that is designed for them. And by that, I mean bringing in speakers, city agencies covering relevant topics or discussions. And that can come from various areas, including land use or any city stuff. But really curating a meeting that is designed to be informative to the community. And when we do the quarterly, the thought was that we would substitute for that given month the board meeting for the general membership meeting. And I think all of those things are things we could talk about, whether that makes sense or not. So one of the things that I've noticed is that obviously Q1 would be in January, a general membership meeting. Well, that's a challenge because we last met in September, as a board, and then ideally in October would be our Q4 general membership meeting, and I'll get to that with maybe a standing. But that January meeting is almost impossible to have because who's working on it? What should we do? So the question for this group is, what do we want to do with the quarterly general membership meeting, given that we are coming off of a break and nobody's really, working it? So that's one. The April, so second quarter, we always have our elections. They're in April. So we can call that and make that the general membership meeting. So that's an easy one. In July, we can do a general membership meeting, or we can pair it with a event. And the last year, not the year before, because it was just the height of COVID, but the year before that, what we've done for a couple of years that has been successful is that we will pair a, social barbecue at a local brewery or something, and we provide the food, but then pair it with speakers and such. So first half hour is kind of social, see who shows up and such, and then the 1 hour of speakers. And that has worked out well. And then for the fourth quarter, which would be in October, and obviously I'm looking at it as the first month of the quarter, and that doesn't have to hold. We can switch all of it around based on what makes sense. And I'm open to all of that. Last year, and every year, Denver has kind of the, has something going on in terms of elections, Emma, and double, make sure I'm not lying here, but we've got some kind of election stuff going on almost every year. Is that right? It's not all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Because we do school board in odd years in November. We do state house, state elections all the way up and down in November of even years. And then Denver City Council's its own thing. So.
Right. So what we find is that, maybe October always is a general membership meeting that covers election topics. And on that, we've partnered with Regis and actually North Star, Denver North Star. And, we kind of said, what, if you guys are going to do it, you guys are going to do it. Or instead of every RNO trying to cover election coverage, and they don't do it well. By doing it well, I mean, you are inviting everyone. You're inviting both sides of a conversation, right? It isn't just who says, I want to present, and you're like, okay, but they are either for or against something, but you're, having a fair coverage of an election or ballot issues would be inviting both sides. Whether they all show up or not is a different story. So we worked with Regis last year, and I think what we all kind of said to each other was, why don't we just make October the election coverage, and let's partner with Regis. Regis has, their community engagement aspect, and they're willing to do something like that. So we make October the election coverage partnership with Regis. We promote and advertise. We work with them to get candidates and positions and both sides, and we work with them to help create, what makes sense. Like this past year, we did a tabling event. We did it outside, right? COVID and such. So I think for second, third, and fourth, if you guys are agreeable, I think we can, say that these are standing. My only concern is that first quarter coming off of break is really difficult unless we all decide that, we're going to make this happen somehow, maybe February, but I'm open to that. So given those things, there's a couple things. Obviously, what do we do about first quarter? We could skip, our current bylaws, don't indicate we have to do this. This is something, I've been pushing for because I felt like we need a better general membership kind of meeting situation other than the board, and which is open, and so is land use. And then the dates. The Mondays are fine, but the date for annual election and the barbecue or / quarterly general meeting, we try to do it on Thursdays, and we try to do it the week of the substitute, which is the last week or the fourth week, in a sense, of the month. Do those dates work out? Does that make sense? And for October, we don't know, because we're going to have to do it in conjunction with Regis, and Regis has its own set of, dates and constraints. But October, and we would not have a board meeting in April, July, or October. I'm okay if we want to have board meetings and do a separate general membership meeting as well, but I don't want to speak for the board, or I want to make, more work for the group. So would folks kind of like to weigh in on kind of this calendar and what makes sense to do going forward for this year? Anyone? Do I have to call out people?
I like the idea of having less meetings, and then, larger events, like you're combining a couple in between. I feel like that always works best, especially because people tend to get busy around those months.
So when we do the annual, obviously our annual election is kind of this annual election / pizza party, so it is a bit of an event, and it's one of the events that we have. The annual election is something we have to do, for both the 501(c) as well as our R&O, designation with the city. We have to have a meeting. One meeting is all the R&O wants. So we cover that by just the annual election. But as a 501(c), we need to have a board of directors, and we need to have an election and, membership meetings and such. So I think you're right, Dawn, the combining where we have to have a general membership meeting, combining as an event, that takes care of that. And I while we're talking about that, I'm going to flip over to the events calendar, which we do not have set up. And I've heard this from a few people. One, obviously, Catherine Mahoney, who was like, you guys aren't doing enough events. But I hear that throughout the community, that we're not doing live meetings. We are not doing events. Lindsay Krenzer, who's not on here yet, and maybe she's not able to join, is my guess, but she too was like, why aren't we doing stuff? So maybe a goal is that we do something every month. But the months where we have to do a general membership meeting / election, whatever, we could just call that the event of the month. So these are things that we've historically have done. Actually, if I'm at it, I'm going to put in bingo here. This has been a historical event that we've done every year except the pandemic issues. And December, we used to have a partner in the neighborhood, a business and it was ongoing for a long time, like 10 plus years, would do a holiday sleigh ride, but they're gone. And it's actually it's a complicated and difficult thing to manage. But, our events folks, and I'm going to be, asking that of them, which is, how do we fill this out? Could it be just happy?
I think it is bringing back the sippers would be a really good thing. It's just really hard because even at my building, I have not done a whole lot of like tenant relations or tenant events because the occupancy is just not there. And so, to justify even having an event, you want a lot of attendees. We want to make sure that we're maintaining like the mask order and, respectful of space and things like that, so that you know, it can be enjoyable for everyone, but yet we're not tipping, you know, we're not, you know, violating any laws, and we're also keeping people safe. So I think going back to the sippers, maybe starting this year would probably be a good thing, and bringing them back and see how well they do, especially since, you know, we have a couple new restaurants, and I know that also some of the restaurants just simply need the business.
And you know, that's been one of our, in terms of these sippers, and we called them SUNI sippers, just like marketing branding, but it's our happy hour. What we used to do pre-pandemic would be that we would have something going on every month. And I think maybe that's what I want you guys all to think about, whether you agree, because this is what I hear from other people is, you know, something going on each month. It could be a election, it could be a signature event, it could be a general membership meeting, but something going on every month. And the other thing I have kind of heard, you know, our board has, you know, decided, you know, at least during the pandemic, to like not do them because our board wasn't comfortable. I think what we need to be thinking about is, you know, it shouldn't be about whether the board is comfortable, but whether the community is comfortable, meaning, you know, let's follow the laws and the guidelines. If Denver and or the state of Colorado is not shutting down gatherings, maybe we shouldn't. And if our board isn't comfortable going to a happy hour, then don't. Because really, at the end of the day, this isn't about the board getting together. We get together once a month virtually, or, you know, on various things, but it's about the community. And I don't know about you guys, but, you know, as I have gone out into restaurants, bars, whatever, people are out. I mean, so if the board doesn't want to go out, that's one thing, but people are out, and our ability to stay relevant and to, you know, market ourselves, to recruit, depends on us being out or holding events. Events to me, while I love events, from the board chair perspective, I look at events as a way to engage and to tell people about what we do. So my question to you guys here is, how do you feel about basing our happy hours, whether we do them or not, based on health guidelines from city, state, and a federal, versus whether our board is comfortable doing it?
I mean, I think, you know, yeah,
You always have to take that into consideration.
yeah, I think, you know, we need it to be considerate, but there are things going on. And I think if we, yeah, follow the guidelines and, you know, not pick bigger venues if we can, so that there's space and, you know, people don't feel smushed. And, you know, I also think that, you know, a lot of restaurants and different venues are now starting to require vaccine status. And I think, you know, I think requiring that would also just make it a safer feeling activity for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of times, so our sipper, one of the things is that as a business member, what we say, you know, one of the benefits of being a business member, and the business member means, you know, they write a check for $100 a year at least. But one of the benefits is that we'll hold things in your location, will bring business to you. So all of that works. However, we do have businesses that simply follow, you know, the mandate, not necessarily. They could choose to do the show vaccine card, or they can follow what I think is easier. If I was a business, is what I would do, and I do see that, which is you mask while you're walking around and you take it off while you're sitting down, right? And I think that's much easier for folks. And I have seen more businesses do that, but we could follow whatever we would have to follow whatever guidelines the restaurant or the business where we're holding it follows, not necessarily our own, or we can create our own. I would suggest we don't. We follow, goes back to a business is allowed to decide to say, I'm promoting myself as a business that will ask for a vaccine passport, or I'm not on that. But either one is still allowed from the standpoint of people frequenting that business. So I would say we don't do the vaccine only event unless there's a reason for us to do that. That is, but anyway, I'd like to hear. other people.
I disagree on that point. I think that these are our events. It's our name and what businesses we choose to promote. And that, I think some good public health is, and if we are really, the goal is to keep people safe, then requiring vaccines goes a long way into doing that. And, it is our event at the end of the day and our name on it. So we can make whatever rules we want.
Yes, but we get limited to where we can do it at that point, because
Well, we're not requiring the restaurant to check vaccines. We're saying we'll check vaccines at the door.
okay,
It's our check-in, it's our sign. And I'm not saying the restaurant has to do anything. I'm saying this should be an internal decision that we decide to do or not do.
I'd like to hear other folks as well. What are your thoughts on, following,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, just, I mean, I feel like, I agree with what you said, Trupti, in the sense that we just need to follow whatever guidelines the venue has. But just that we need to be clear when we promote the event, what those guidelines are. So
Good point.
if they're requiring vaccine cards, then we need to say you need to
Yep.
prove a vaccine. If they're requiring a mask while you're up and around, we need to say that, whatever it is. Then I think it's up to the people who need to make the decision on their own. If they're uncomfortable because they're not requiring a vaccine card or whatever, that they don't go. But I think that, yeah, trying to coordinate the event and then try to monitor the situation. Not only, I think, would it put us in a difficult situation to have the people there to do that, but also I don't know if there would be any legal ramifications around it either. But I think it's just go with what the venue says, make sure it's clear. This is what's going to be required when you show up. That's my 2 cents.
And thank you, Mike. I think there's a difference. If we're renting a venue, we would set our own rules versus if we're using an existing venue, what would make most sense, I guess. That's kind of where I'm going with that, because that person is going to walk somewhere else, from where they are. But who else, please? I'd like to hear more from other folks.
Yeah, Tripty, I'd say I agree with Mike. I know I've been around town and been to quite a few places where the vaccine is required. And I'd love to go to a business that requires that if we can find a venue. I haven't been to everywhere in the neighborhood recently, but I don't know if anyone's doing that in Sunnyside or not. But if we could find one, that'd be great. The other thing I wanted to say was I like Don's idea. I've never heard of the Sunny Sippers thing before.
Mhm.
But just from my perspective, I think when we're doing like 2 or 3 big events a year, it's a lot of work and time and effort and planning. And if we can do something that's maybe a little more low key and more consistent, like kind of the Sippers, where it doesn't take a big group, we
Yep.
can do it at some venue. They're doing all the food and drink. We don't have to do anything. That's really great. Because like for me, I wanted to come to the general membership meeting last July, but I forget it might have been the bar exam was happening that day or something. And so I didn't really get around until kind of at the last second. I figured out the conservation overlay meeting was happening, I think towards the end of August or something like that. But so like if someone misses one of the meetings and there's only one of these general meetings and there's only 3 a year,
Yep.
It's going to be another 3 months before they can stop by, get to know you, that sort of thing. So that'd be great if we could do things that are real low key and it's easy for people to stop by.
Thank you. And that has always been the case, which is we only did 3 to 4 signature events. And then, and then all the other months we would do a happy hour. And I think at least the challenge I've seen so far is our board doing those happy hours, not because, at least for a lot of 2021, I think after June and July of 2021, the guidelines had been loosened, right? I mean, it wasn't until June or July that we even decided we could do our Jazz in the Park, because that gathering of 75 people was still an issue. But I think it's our board, and people wanting to arrange the happy hours. I think that's also a, limiting step. So I agree. I think we should be doing, something every month that is low key. And in the months that we're doing something larger, that's covered. So I'd like to move towards that if our events folks can make that happen. Anyone else?
I've got some thoughts on this.
You.
They're kind of across here. So one thing I wanted to address, Trepty, was your comment at the very beginning of this discussion about should there be any sort of big event during the first quarter of the year.
Mhm.
And my impression is pretty much everyone throughout January especially, but February also, is really just trying to get through.
Hmm.
And I don't really see us as the board or a lot of the neighbors having the bandwidth to also be attending that. And if we're not going to get great attendance, I don't think
Yep.
we would want to be putting a lot of effort into it. So that was my thought on the big events. And I think that if we have 3 really solid events throughout the year, I like that. As far as the Sunnyside Sippers go, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of bringing them back and having them with enough frequency that they do create a nice low stakes way for the community to get together. As far as the requirements, to bring back kind of the 2020 word, that this is all very unprecedented and we don't really know what is safe or not. And so I like the idea of saying we're gonna generally follow what the state and city guidelines are, but also to kind of reinforce Emma's point. I think if the board thinks that whatever the city or state is doing, if we're all sitting there saying this doesn't feel safe, or I wouldn't go to that we do have to also protect our own name and our own image, to say we're not going to do that if we don't think that it's safe. And so I think we should stay away from a blanket we're always going to follow what those are, and allow that we do have to account for how the board feels and how the people that are organizing the event feel, if we can do it or not. Now, that's of course to say, if several members of the board or several members of the community want to do it, absolutely we should do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more concerned that the board is not representative of the neighborhood in general, and following guidelines set by city, state, and federal are good enough. Otherwise, it's kind of based on who's at the meeting, to vote on any given event. I mean, and I wanted to take some of that subjectivity out, of it. I totally understand, but yeah, I think it's sufficient to follow. I mean, I don't know. We could have anti-vaxxers on here. So like, whether, I would say that we should be less subjective than more. And I don't know a better way to do that than to, follow the guidelines. But maybe we could just take a vote, because we've got a quorum here today. We can move to decide how to have happy hours given the pandemic, and whether we do them or not. We need to follow some parameters rather than a moving target based on how somebody feels that day. Anybody else want to weigh in before I make a motion to just decide whether, we follow guidelines or the board decides each month? And then let's not forget that, folks planning this from the event side will have to, figure out what everybody's thinking each month before they decide, rather than kind of planning. And planning does have a little bit of lead time.
Well, I mean, it may be a good idea to discuss this now and then table it until next month, because the mask mandate, we'll see where it's going on February 3rd. And then, we'll be able to weigh in more from there. But I for one would motion that we make sure that we respect the local businesses and whatever their mandates are.
Well, the businesses are following guidelines already set by the city, right? So are you saying that we should be following whatever, following whatever the business
Yes.
does means we're following the city guidelines?
Yes. I think it would be troublesome if we didn't.
Well, the issue isn't that we wouldn't follow city guidelines. The issue is whether we would add something more stringent on top of city guidelines. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, it just really depends on the venue, and we're hosting the event. I think that in some cases, we may, depending on how many people, say for instance, if it was out El Jefe versus the Supper Club, I mean, they have occupancy standards, so maybe we would require vaccination, or maybe we would require that, only so many people can attend the event and they have to be vaccinated. Just depending on the space that we have to work with.
Like El Jefe requires a vaccination to go in there right now.
And I don't think Supper Club does.
No, so, I mean,
And that's the same company, just so you know. And they are making a choice because of how big and small their space is, I believe.
yeah.
So that's fair. I mean, but again, we would never be doing something different than the business. But
Yeah, I feel like, Mike brought up consistency earlier in this. And, if we are going to venues that do require it and then venues that don't, people, that's not very consistent. So if we just make a rule that it's vaccines all the time, then at least we're consistent across the board.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, hey, this is Joseph. So the vaccine required limits the people that can attend, right? The people that don't want to get the vaccine or don't want to show you get the vaccine limits your people. And then if you say no vaccine, then the people that want the vaccine don't show up. So I think if you put one rule on it, you're going to limit who can go on both occasions. So say you go to a business that doesn't require a vaccine, then the people that don't want to get the vaccine or don't have the vaccine card can attend that event. And then if you go to a business that requires the vaccine, then you open it up to the vaccine only people. So I think if you want to reach more people, then I don't think requiring the vaccine is a good step there. Depends what you want to reach though.
Yeah, well, and
Just
that's
in
a
my
good
point of view.
point, because we could be alternating. And again, it could be that no one in Sunnyside requires it. What do we do then? We decide not to do these because no one in Sunnyside requires a vaccine card? I mean, so and right now I can't think of, I think Bonaquisti requires a vaccine card. That's the only place I've been to that has asked. Now, I haven't been to El Jefe. So El Jefe and Bonaquisti do. But again,
So the city has a list of every
I know.
venue or every place that says they are vaccine required. So we can there is a resource to look this up.
But that isn't the issue. The issue is, would we keep going to Bonaquisti every month? Or say we only have 2. Because remember, this also goes into the business membership aspect. This is a benefit of becoming a business member, that we will hold hold an event there. So what we're going to say is, yeah, we would, except you don't require a vaccine card and therefore we're not comfortable with it. And we could, but just kind of keep that in mind, that would be questions that someone has to answer. And again, this is why we're talking about it, is we need to figure out what we're going to do. Most of last year, we didn't do happy hours. We did actually just the general membership barbecue in July, and then Jazz is outside, the Regis was outside. So, and hey, Lindsay, we got Lindsay who just joined, and I'm going to give Lindsay the last couple of minutes. We didn't get to priorities, and we'll move that till next month. Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay is volunteering, has actually started volunteering. She helped kind of start some of the work that we're doing. She's also has raised her hand to be a treasurer on the board, and is also going to help us with our website. So Lindsay, I'm going to give you the last few minutes. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe the last 2 minutes, I'm going to make a motion to approve Lindsay and Joseph as board members. So let's just remember that there'll be a couple minutes we need. Lindsay, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Sorry, I'm driving.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
All right,
driving.
cool. Okay, cool. I'm actually leaving a happy hour from work, so I've gone through all the questions we just talked about around masks and vaccines and everything. So definitely feel that. My name's Lindsay Krenzer. My husband and I moved to Sunnyside in June of 2020 amid all the COVID-ness. So was just trying to look at a way to get more involved with Sunnyside, especially with different things going on. So I was super excited to connect last fall with Shruti. I've been sitting on a bunch of the land use meetings, so just really interested in what's going on in Sunny and getting involved. We live in a townhouse on 41st in Tejon, and we've got 3 cats. And then for work, I run a nonprofit called Back on My Feet. We work with individuals experiencing homelessness, so we're running an employment program. So I've been doing that for the last 3 years. I've worked in nonprofits and startups, and have spent some time on different nonprofits and different roles there. I think the only position I've never held is a vice president role in any sort of organization. I'm so fairly familiar with kind of how things run along those ways. Our kind of passions are running and traveling and sustainability. So it's been really fun to kind of see what's going on in the neighborhood with the plans. In my kind of desire of heart, urban planning is really interesting to me. I've found that my knowledge base is not super strong there, so I'm better just kind of sitting and kind of knowing what's going on. And really excited to join the board, and also hopefully join the board if it's approved, as well as look at Sunnyside United and see how we can make sure memberships are looking good for businesses and members, and getting more folks involved in the neighborhood as well. That is kind of a quick background on me. I've been working kind of on the side with some feedback from a couple others on some website updates and changes, as well as looking at membership and kind of just trying to learn as much as I possibly can as I'm diving into it.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say, Lindsay is, will be our treasurer, at least interim, and also membership lead. These are areas that she, will focus on for us. So we are running out of time. So I want to make a couple of motions, because I want to make sure that the new board members, that we can either take a vote on now, but at least, get them adopted, or vote, move to, vote on these 2 things. So I'd like to move to add Joseph Gonzalez as interim board member to Sunnyside United Neighbors. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. Do you folks all feel comfortable voting while these folks are on there, or we can have the board, we can have these folks drop and vote afterwards? I'm okay either way. We don't really have a standing rule about this stuff right now. So would you prefer, that these guys drop off?
I don't care.
Yeah, me neither. All right, so we've moved and seconded Joseph to be added as interim board member. I'm gonna, ask for kind of all the yays and nays. Actually, Secretary Emma, could you take a roll call vote on this?
Yes. Okay. We'll start with you, Shruti.
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
who did I miss?
I think
You.
you missed you.
Okay, is it just me? That's good. Me, yes,
Thank you. Unanimous.
unanimous.
It carries. Next, I'd like to move to add Lindsay Krenzer as interim board member.
Second.
I'm a yes, Emma.
Okay. And who seconded that?
Katie did.
Thank you. It's hard to type and sometimes listen at the same time.
You got
You
rid
do
of
a great job, Emma. You do a great job.
Thank you. Well, then Katie, we'll go for your vote next.
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes. Sorry, fumbling around here with the trackpad.
Dawn,
Yes.
and me, yes. Okay.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Welcome, guys. So appreciate you guys stepping up, raising your hand.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
You
Do
don't
we
know.
need to vote about chair for land use?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you.
I was like, there's something else I gotta do here.
I'm going to move to have Matthew Robert Vondrasek as as land use chair.
My second.
I'm a yes.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Yes. Katie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bobby?
I should probably abstain.
Yeah,
That's best practice.
Yeah. Dawn,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So that is unanimous with one abstaining. Okay.
All right, guys, we are at 8:01. We've tabled the item of, thinking about these sunny sippers and, following city state guidelines versus, only having it at vaccinated places or wherever we do it, we add our vaccination. We didn't get to priorities or budget. So I am going to be sending you guys our I'm going to send you a couple of documents. One is just, where we are financially at the end of the year, and we're in a good spot. We started off the year at 21,000. We're at 26 something like that, because we haven't spent money. But I want everyone, especially committee chairs and obviously events, but also, land use and others, to think about what money we might need to do what we want to do for 2022. And I will send you our financial report that tells us where we are, but also kind of a breakdown of where we spend our money today, and numbers for what events may cost if we choose to go forward. And we will work on that probably first thing on the next month. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time, and have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Faces.
Thanks, Diane.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.